Welcome in YouTube. We left off yesterday on chapter 3. That's where we will start today. Not too much of an introduction because we've been doing this for quite a bit. And this chapter 3 is leadership, incident command, and coordination. Leadership in law enforcement is absolutely critical, especially in moments of a dire challenge, such as the active shooting incident at Robb Elementary School. It requires courageous action and steadiness in a chaotic environment. Leadership can be displayed internally within an agency and publicly when providing service to the community. It arises regardless of rank or title. Situations like the incident at Robb Elementary School require steady and commanding actions. Based on facts gathered for this report, this leadership was absent for too long at Robb Elementary School. The active shooter incident at Robb should have been resolved in far fewer than the 77 minutes that it took to enter classrooms 111 and 112. Yeah, Adrian could have stopped it before it even happened. Accordingly, much of this chapter's discussion focuses not on the actions of leadership after the conclusion of the incident, but rather on leadership, incident command, and coordination in that critical period of time during the active shooter response. It addresses the need to establish an incident command post or unified command structure in the midst of an active shooter situation, and it discusses the importance of a coordinated and collaborative command and coordination strategy in responding to and resolving complicated incidents involving multiple agencies. The recommendations identified are critical to defining what occurred on May 24th for the UValde community and for law enforcement and other responding agencies to learn, practice, and prepare in order to prevent the next tragedy or lessen the harm it causes. The scope. This chapter describes the law enforcement leadership actions and inactions, incident command and management, coordination with other law enforcement agencies, including mutual aid, self-deployment by other local, state, and federal law enforcement personnel, and emergency medical services, fire medical response. As with any other after-action assessment, the CIR team benefited from hindsight during this review. A review of video, body-worn camera footage, and other post-incident data often provided clarity to the actions and inactions on that tragic day that was not available to the first responders at Robb Elementary. The CIR team also benefited from the expertise of subject matter experts who assisted in developing the observations and recommendations. Where not otherwise cited, the practices identified in this chapter derive from the experts' collective knowledge and experience. This chapter is organized into two sections. The leadership during an active shooter response. This section describes leadership action and inaction over the course of the incident in responding to the active shooter threat, coordinating incoming resources, and establishing command and control. A coordination of medical response. This section describes the coordination of the emergency medical services response. Each section discusses the generally accepted practices and standards related to leadership, incident command, and coordination, and any relevant background before analyzing what occurred at Robb Elementary. The chapter concludes with observations and recommendations. While Chapter 1, the incident timeline reconstruction, provides a comprehensive account of pertinent facts leading up to, during, and immediately after the tragic mass shooting, this chapter incorporates those facts and includes an analysis from the perspective of leadership and incident command and coordination. Only chief executives, government executives, and those elected to civic government positions will be named. Other law enforcement personnel who were critical or played a key role in the areas of leadership and incident and coordination will have a number assigned and be referenced by title and number. All other individuals are unnamed, which is bullshit, which is the biggest thing. Which is the biggest thing that I hate about this. Why are we still protecting those officers when those officers didn't protect our kids? Every single one of those cops should have been named. Just flat out. They should have. Every single fucking one. And the fact that they didn't, once again, just goes to show that UValde, the state of Texas, and this country cares more about cops than they do about these children. Prior to, during, and following a response to a critical incident, leadership plays a critical role in setting the stage for an effective response to the incident and the events that follow. A coordinated and collaborative command and coordination strategy is also critical to the response and resolution of complicated incidents involving multiple agencies. During incident responses, leadership is invaluable for supporting coordination and communication. The significance of collaboration within the agency with other law enforcement agencies and across public safety disciplines cannot be overstated, as evidenced by the failures identified in this review. When law enforcement takes the oath of office, they pledge to serve and protect their communities. If that ain't the biggest damn lie. I mean, yeah, we swear that we'll serve and protect, but then they don't have to serve and protect. Officers are trained to approach critical situations from a position of finding tactical solutions. They are frequently called upon to make split-second decisions, and these decisions have long-term, sometimes irreversible consequences. This profession carries a great responsibility and comes with deep costs physically, mentally, and emotionally to the officers and the communities they serve. Lie. Like, come on now. The deep costs. You know what deep costs that every single parent that has lost a child to gun violence and a cop didn't do a damn thing about it? What about the deep costs to like Philando Castile? What about the deep cost to Breonna Taylor? Need I keep going? Once again, this is the part of this where I don't like the DOJ kissing ass of officers. I fucking can't stand it. Let's see. Ranked law enforcement leaders set the tone for law enforcement policy, procedures, and ethical behavior. Ranked leaders have a distinct responsibility for requiring persistent efforts to proactively develop themselves and motivate, inspire, train, and develop others. In one model, effective law enforcement leadership includes 8 principles. 1. Service. The essence of law enforcement is to serve, and an effective manager exemplifies service, self-giving, and selflessness. No, it isn't. That is not the essence of law enforcement. The essence of... We're not even going to fucking get into what the essence of it is about. But it's not about serving. Not the community, anyways. That's absolutely fucking false. That's absolutely 100% incorrect. Honesty. Leaders' communication and actions must be honest and forthright, and that honesty extends to leaders being honest with themselves. Now, that's crazy, because didn't Steve McCraw say that if the DOJ was found culpable for any of those actions that day, that he would resign? And then when I called him out on that, he didn't resign because he wasn't being honest. He even admitted that, DOJ or the DPS failed that day. And then he was like, DPS failed, but we didn't fail. Shut up. Which leads into integrity. Effective leadership depends on constantly doing what is right, meaning that which is in the best interest of the organization and of others. That's it, right? So I'm not even going to... Here's the funny thing. They said it right there. They added the "and others" as a afterthought. But literally, depends on consistently doing what is right, meaning that which is in the best interest of that organization, which is why they tried to blame it on Miss Amy, right? because that was in the best interest of their organization. That's why these organizations will blame it on others. The city blames it on the school blames it on the cop blames it on, you know what I'm saying? Like, they do what's best for their own interests. That's it. Humility. Leadership involves looking for ways to learn from others and improve ourselves. Not even going to fucking touch on that one. Purpose. A sense of shared purpose enables leaders to develop personnel who identify with the central purpose of nobility of law enforcement. That is an oxymoron. Nobility, law enforcement. Mentoring. Leaders have a duty and responsibility to develop their personnel. Okay. Positive and a constructive attitude. Leaders should consistently portray the attitude of moving forward constructively, always looking for positive improvement and the willing cooperation of others. Nah, see, that's the thing. They should cooperate with us. We shouldn't have to cooperate with them. Trust. Effective leaders need to trust their personnel. How'd that work out? May 24th. As part of effective leadership, ranked leaders need to be honest and tell their fellow leaders their opinions when they believe they have done or are about to do something not in the best interest of their position or that of the department. Effective leaders should question a decision, action, or inaction. It requires moral courage, but research has shown that if one person shows courage and acts, others are likely to follow. The Law Enforcement Code of Ethic aids agencies and law enforcement in practicing these core values. Leading by example sets the stage for an effective agency. Hold on. An organization's shortcomings are a direct reflection of its leadership. And none of those cops that were in leadership got fired. Imagine that. All sworn police officers at every rank have to hold each other accountable, no matter who is watching. Doing the right thing is the only way to change law enforcement culture and build trust within the organization and the public, the community that we all serve. We must always remember to embrace our organization's codes of ethics, and it should be a constant reminder to lead by example. Also, effective communication is essential. During a critical incident, effective leadership is paramount, and leaders have a responsibility to act with forward momentum. Those with formal positional authority, including executives, command staff, and all other supervisors, have a duty and a responsibility to exercise command, control, management, and authority, irrespective of an acting designation. They have an obligation to protect innocent lives based on their oath of office, which we're going to read this and everything. But, yeah, the Supreme Court says no. The Supreme Court fucking says no. But here is the IACP, Law Enforcement Oath of Honor. The International Association of Chiefs of Police Law Enforcement Oath of Honor demonstrates ethical standards via a public affirmation. The Oath of Honor is as such. On my honor, I will never betray my integrity, my character, or my public trust. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to try to read this with a straight face. Hold on. I'm sorry about that. I'll just read through this. Like, what honor? What integrity, what character, and that fucking public trust is long fucking gone. So, and then reading through this, I'm seeing a whole bunch of shit. Like, I will treat all individuals with dignity and respect, unless they're black and brown. Like, what? What? Holy fuck. All right, we'll try. I'm going to do my best to read it and not. Take two. Take two. I'm trying hard here, guys. On my honor, I will never betray my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will treat all individuals with dignity and respect and ensure that my actions are dedicated to ensuring the safety of my community and the preservation of human life. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will maintain the highest ethical standards and uphold the values of my community and the agency I serve. Oh, that was hard. Guys, holy shit. That was hard. Especially when it was like, I'm dedicated to the preservation of human life. Yeah. Huh? What? You didn't preserve shit for those 77 minutes, you coward ass motherfuckers. So that was hard. And then I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. Can you name me? And I'm being dead serious, everybody. Can y'all name me? DB, I'll get to you in a second, buddy. We can have that conversation here in a bit. But anyways, this is complete bullshit. Have any of these officers held themselves or their respective agencies accountable for what they did or didn't do on May 24th? I'm curious. Because here's the thing too, I'll have people that are in law enforcement or ex-law enforcement come up and be like, no, they were cowards. They didn't go, I would have won it. No, you wouldn't have. And the fact that you're just saying this right there instead of why not doing something about it, right? Why not coming out like publicly and saying this? How about you challenge the system from fucking within? Because you don't mean it. You're just a bunch of motherfuckers with a Rambo complex. This is the biggest joke that I have seen in a while. Oh, fuck. Given the lessons learned from Columbine, this is the active shooter response principles, the standards promulgated by the International Association of Chiefs of Police and training developed by the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security, it should be widely understood that law enforcement response in active shooter situations requires immediate action by first responding officers, regardless of the availability of specialized units or equipment. In an ideal situation, 4 or 5 first responders arrive at the scene of an ongoing active shooter simultaneously and quickly search and eliminate the threat. Recent developments in tactical response and training also emphasize solo officer response when the situation demands. For further explanation of active shooter response principles, see Chapter 2, Tactics and Equipment. The National Incident Management System, or NIMS, where multiple agencies or entities are involved in responding to an incident. It is also critical for leaders to develop a coordinated and collaborative command and coordination strategy. Mass violence incidents in particular often draw the response of many law enforcement agencies, fire departments, medical transport agencies, and emergency medical facilities. A lack of shared understanding among responders regarding roles can create confusion. So this is a sample incident command structure with a single incident commander. So you'll have your incident commander up top, off onto the side, which is the command staff. You have the PIO, which is the public information officer. You have the safety officer. You also have the liaison officer. Below that, you have the operations section chief, planning section chief, Logistics Section Chief, and the Finance Administration Section Chief. The NIMS is a useful framework for coordinating responses along multiple agencies, including all levels of government, non-governmental organizations, and the private sector to work together to prevent, protect against, mitigate, respond to, and recover from all incidents. As FEMA states, the command and coordination component of NIMS describes the systems, principles, and structures that provide a standard national framework for incident management. The ability to respond in a coordinated manner does not happen by accident, but is a product of a region-wide commitment to NIMS and the requisite preparation and training. FEMA describes NIMS as a shared vocabulary, systems, and processes while defining key systems. Shout out keys. Including the Incident Command System, Emergency Operations Center structures, and multi-agency coordination groups, MAC groups, that guide how personnel work together during incidents. Emergency responders can use different components of NIMS to conduct operations so that responders at all levels can work together more effectively and efficiently. Because ICS is scalable, it can be used for small, planned events such as search warrants, event security, or department celebrations. The fire service can serve as a model of how routine use of ICS and NIMS improves performance during critical incidents. This is a unified command structure as well. Organizations represented in the unified command are determined on a case-by-case basis and may include law enforcement, fire, public health, public works, and other entities. Once again, it's the unified command, the PIO, the safety officer, and the liaison officer, which are all a part of the command staff, which is off to the side. Underneath, you have the operations section, the planning section, the logistics section, and the finance administration section. Furthermore, the National Qualification System promotes interoperability by establishing a common language for defining job titles, responsibilities, and by enabling jurisdictions and organizations to plan for, request, and have confidence in the capabilities of personnel, not just local incidents, but in deployments to mutual aid events. The NQS uses an experience approach that builds on the NIMS framework by focusing on verifying the capabilities of personnel to perform as required in the various ICS positions. Experience includes the necessary education, training, and demonstrated capability that establishes proficiency in the required role or roles. This practical application approach enhances response to critical incidents and reduces the potential for staff to be placed in roles for which they are not best suited. NIMS establishes two generally accepted command structures, a single incident commander and unified command. In a command structure with a single incident commander, the incident commander has overall incident management responsibility and relies on staff and section chiefs to assist in managing the incident. Effective incident management consists of four overarching areas of responsibility: direct tactical response to save lives, stabilize the incident, and protect property and the environment. Incident support through resource acquisition, information gathering, and interagency coordination. Policy guidance and senior level decision making. And number 4, which is outreach and communication with media and public to keep them informed about the incident. A commonly accepted way to organize multiple agencies is by establishing a unified command structure. The unified command generally includes the primary law enforcement responders as well as the emergency medical liaison, victim services, and others as needed. Unified command improves unity of effort in a multi-agency response to an incident. Unified command also facilitates the joint management of common incident objectives and strategies. However, under unified command, each agency maintains authority, responsibility, and accountability for its personnel and resources. To facilitate efforts of the unified command and coordinate efforts of multiple agencies, leaders can establish an incident command post. The ICP is usually located near the incident. Sorry. Reading through this, it gets fucking, redundant sometimes. So, I have to make jokes. And every time I fucking see them call the incident command post the ICP, I have to throw some sort of fucking Insane Clown Posse reference out. just to keep it lively. Fucking magnets, how do they work, right? When determining an ICP, leaders should consider space, security, accessibility, and facilities, such as technological capabilities. An ICP can also serve as a base for the incident command if only one agency is involved. Under incident command structure principles for establishing a command post or presence, the command leader utilizes an elevated physical position so that arriving personnel have an immediate understanding of where to go for instructions. In best case situations, green strobe lights are used to attract attention to the command post locations. We are about to get into some of the good shit right here, though, because this is what the relevant policies and roles in UValde. The following subsections introduce the relevant law enforcement policies and leadership roles that informed the response at Robb Elementary. You have your active shooter, incident command, and coordination policies. On the day of the tragedy, there were policies in place related to establishing incident command and responding to active shooters in several, but not all, of the agencies that are a part of the CIR review. The UPD, which is the Uvalde Police Department, the UCISD PD, which is the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District Police Department, the Uvalde County Sheriff's Office, which is UCSO, the Texas Department of Public Safety, which would be Texas DPS, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which is fuck ICE, and U.S. Marshal Service, USMS. The other agencies included in the CIR review were not present prior to the law enforcement entry into the classrooms. Per the UPD policy, and this is for the Uvalde Police Department, the first officer to arrive should attempt to determine the situation and communicate information and direction to other responding officers and supervisors. Ideally, if time permits, the first 2 to 5 officers arriving should form a single team and enter the involved structure. A single officer entering a structure must understand the inherent risk assumed in taking such action. The first officers entering the structure should recognize that their primary objective is to stop further violence. Officers must move quickly and deliberately to the source of gunfire and stop the violence. Officers should attempt to identify and communicate locations of victims needing medical assistance. If practical and absent continued shooting, officers should treat any massive hemorrhaging that may result in the immediate loss of life. Upon arriving to the scene of an active shooter event and assessing the scene, the agency should implement their mutual aid agreements with other police agencies if necessary and with fire and rescue agencies. Additionally, it may be necessary after the incident to collaborate with recovery agencies to assist the scene and any victims. Now, here's the problem. Did UPD do any of that? Did the Uvalde Police Department do any of what we just read? I'll wait. Not a fucking thing. But I thought they were of like fucking honor and integrity and loyalty and saving lives and shit like that. Well, you mean that little bullshit ass oath that they take isn't true? You're fucking flabbergasted. Oh, shit. The policy also provides guidance on incident command. The first responding supervisor, if not needed as part of the contact team, will assume the role of incident commander and establish a command post in a safe area away from the structure. If the first arriving supervisor is needed and becomes a part of contact team, the second arriving supervisor will become incident commander. The supervisor will begin coordinating other parts of the incident, including the deployment of rescue teams, until relieved by a higher ranking or assigned incident commander. The initial incident commander should focus their activities to maintaining open communications with any contact teams deployed, assembling and sending in rescue teams as soon as possible, establishing an inner perimeter, and establishing an evacuee area. The department will provide training to all department supervisors on the incident command process and priorities for command. All right, that was just UPD. We just read through UPDs. And I believe there's 26 UPD officers there. I could be wrong. We'll see it here in a minute. But I believe that there's 26. And none of them did any of that. So let's move on to the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District policies. UCISD PD did not have an active shooter policy. However, UCISD did have an annex specifically related to incident command roles and responsibility that states they did have an active shooter policy. What? They absolutely did have. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit because that's going to piss me off because I know that they had one. I know that they had an active shooter policy because fucking Pete helped write it. Adrian helped fucking train it. What? But this says, once an active shooter has been verified, the district police department chief will become the person in control of the efforts of all law enforcement and responders that arrive at the scene. If able, secure the administration office as a command post and retrieve the critical information and data about the school's emergency systems. If the incident is occurring at the administration office, designate an alternate command post. District Police Department has the functions, responsibilities, and shall be responsible for the Incident Command Center and first on scene to prevent or stop an active shooter. Here's the thing. I still know these names, some of these names. So here was the line of succession, all right? UCISD PD Chief Pete Arredondo. UCISD PD Lieutenant Mike Hernandez. And Director of Student Services, Robert Mueller. I know the DOJ didn't want to spill y'all's names and shit, but I fucking will. Why are the names today? I have no idea. On the day of the tragedy, there were some policies in place to govern coordination among agencies with overlapping jurisdiction. The UCISD policies, for example, contained an annex that identified the school district police chief as the incident commander for active shooters. At the same time, however, it stated that the UCISD Police Department, Uvalde County Sheriff's Office, Uvalde City Police Department, local border patrol, game wardens, and the Uvalde County Emergency Management Team will participate in the development, implementation, and evaluation in this annex. The UCISD Multi-Hazard Emergency Basic Operations Plan 2021-2022 states under the planning assumptions the district is not an emergency response organization and therefore depends upon local emergency first responders for life safety and protection, including the services of law enforcement, fire, emergency, medical, and public health. So then why do you need your own fucking law enforcement agency if you're like, we need other law enforcement agencies? Action is required immediately to save lives and protect school property. An incident, a fire, a gas main breakage could occur at any time without warning, and the employees of the school affected cannot and should not wait for the direction from district administration or local response agencies. Outside assistance from local fire, law enforcement, and emergency managers will be available in most incidents. Because it takes time to request and dispatch external assistance, it is essential for the school to be prepared to carry out the initial incident response until responders arrive at the incident scene. The plan further states that the expectations of the city and county in support of the school district are to provide emergency response for life safety and protection. UCISD PD officers also taught a 2021 SBLE active shooter course just months before the attack at Robb Elementary School. The course was based on the active shooter response for school-based law enforcement guide developed by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, or TCOL, in January 2020. As described more fully in Chapter 8, the guide includes a number of statements and guidance that diverge from the generally accepted active shooter practices described above. So I am seeing something in the comments. So no, a mom didn't go and grab her kids out of the school and everything. That was a lie. That did not happen. There's no verification of that. What that person did is that they ran and got them out of the school line. Right? They didn't run in the school at all. It didn't happen. They never went in. That's a conversation for another day. UCI is, let me see. For example, the guide states an event that starts as an active shooter event can easily morph into a hostage crisis and vice versa, which is particularly concerning language and not in accord with generally accepted practices and standards, as detailed in Chapter 2. An active shooter rarely ceases to be an active shooter. Based on the generally accepted practices and standards in active shooter response and based on national training materials, the situation should be considered an active shooter, especially in a school setting based on the high probability of the presence of victims. The guide also states, in the event of an active school attack, school-based law enforcement officers should do the best they can to fill the gap until other first responders can arrive. The language counters the training of the National Association of School Resource Officers and the Texas Association of School Resource Officers, which instruct trainees to move towards the stimuli indicating an active shooter threat and seek to eliminate it in a tactically sound way without waiting for additional resources. It is also problematic that the guidebook states the three primary goals in responding to an active attack in schools are to isolate, distract, and neutralize. In particular, UCISD's course guidance to distract the attacker is concerning and goes against the entire mindset of an active shooter who has the goal of killing as many people as possible. There is no negotiation with an active shooter. The strategy should be consistent with generally accepted training, which focuses on stopping the killing and stopping the dying. The UCISD and the UPD agreements. In addition to the active shooter and incident command policies, there were some policies in place to govern coordination among agencies with overlapping jurisdiction. UCISD, PD, and UPD entered into a memorandum of understanding dated August 5th, 2019, per the requirement of the Texas Education Code 37.081. The agreement between UCISD and UPD, effective August 5th, 2019, is intended to outline reasonable communication and coordination efforts when agencies have overlapping jurisdiction. The MOU states in part that the UValde Consolidated Independent School District Department's primary duty is to respond to and investigate all crimes, including infractions, misdemeanors, and felonies, as set forth herein. A. Crimes committed by or against district students, employees, or the general public on or near the district property during regular school hours or while attending school-sponsored events or while traveling directly to and from school and or school-sponsored events. Crimes committed against district property. It further states that UValde CISD PD generally does not field units during evenings, weekends, and some holidays. UValde City Police Department will generally respond during those times. The MOU does not directly address emergency situations or MOUs with multi-agency responses to critical incidents. The Texas Education Code related to school safety. In 2001, the Texas legislature authorized the establishment of the Texas School Safety Center under Texas Education Code Chapter 37.201. I don't know what the asterisk is for, but it's there. The Texas SSC serves as a research center and clearinghouse for safety and security information. There's a cross. Under Section 37.2121 of the statute, and the Texas SSC has direction, guidance, and responsibilities related to MOUs and mutual aid agreements between school districts and other responders regarding school safety and security. This section reads, a memorandum of understanding and mutual aid agreements. The center shall identify and inform school districts of the types of entities, including local and regional authorities, other school districts, and emergency first responders with whom school districts should customarily make efforts to enter into a memoranda of understanding or mutual aid agreements addressing issues that affect school safety and security. The center shall develop guidelines regarding memoranda of understanding and mutual aid agreements between school districts and the entities identified in accordance with subsection A. The guidelines must include descriptions of the provisions that should customarily be included in each memorandum of agreement with a particular type of entity, and 2, may include sample language for those provisions. Oh, shit. I'm already tired of reading, guys. Like, it hadn't even been that long. At this point, they're just using words to just use fucking words. Shit. And it doesn't help that I didn't get much sleep last night, but... All right. I think actually, I think we're going to end it there for the night. And we'll come back. We'll take off this Friday a little bit early. So I appreciate you, YouTube.